Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out from Russia to share with you. We're going to be talking about Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabkov, in today's video. This is him right here in the photo for you. So, we've got information that Russia may deploy nuclear weapons closer to Europe amid a German threat. Okay, so we had a report not too long ago, just about a week ago, I want to say, that the US was planning to deploy more long range missiles in Germany, and Russia vowed a response. Okay, so this came out on July 11th, and the US was planning to start sending long range missiles to Germany starting in 2026. Okay, so within like a year and a half from now, maybe a little bit longer, they would start deploying long range missiles to Germany to give them greater capabilities to strike Russia if need be. That this would allow them to strike deep inside of their territory, and enhance their strike range and their capabilities that they currently have right now. And yeah, so we heard about that, and then we knew that Russia was going to respond. So now we're hearing that sort of response coming from Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. So he was in an interview on the Interfax news agency, which I believe is state-run in Russia, and he was stating that they would not rule out anything in terms of deploying nuclear weapons, that they were planning to potentially do this in the future as well to counteract this threat. So there was this that came out also. This came out a day after the last CBS News post that I just showed you, and it says from Kiev Independent, Russia may store 100 nuclear warheads in Kaliningrad Oblast, Polish foreign minister claims. So this came out on June 12th, so just about a week ago. This is the Polish foreign minister, Radoslaw Sikorski is what his name is. And that's what he was stating here, was that Russia may store 100 nuclear warheads in Kaliningrad. Okay, so this is obviously part of the reason why the U.S. was like, you know what, okay, well, we're going to start sending long-range missiles to Germany. And apparently, from what I understand, they have done this in the past. But now they're starting to do this again, and now we're getting pushed to a major Cold War with Russia. And Russia's having to respond to this now. They're having to say, okay, well, now we're going to have to start deploying more nuclear weapons as well. And we already know that they've deployed nuclear weapons to Belarus. I think there's Iskander missiles in Belarus. And then also now they're talking about sending some to Kaliningrad, which I believe Kaliningrad could have some already. I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe they do. But that now they're talking about sending more to Kaliningrad. And if they did, this would make it very easily for Russia to strike any country in Europe. I think they can already do that as well from their own territory, but it would make it even easier from them if these missiles were located in Kaliningrad, considering it's even much closer to European territory. So let me show you this as well on the Moscow Times. We're going to get right into this, the information here. Moscow not ruling out nuclear deployment amid U.S. plans for weapons in Germany. This came out yesterday. Here's Sergei Ryabkov again for you in the photo. And it says here Russia may make a new deployment of nuclear weapons in response to U.S. plans to station missiles in Germany, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said Thursday. I'm not ruling out any options, Ryabkov was quoted as saying by the state-run Interfax news agency. Considering the combined capabilities of NATO member countries, we must calibrate our responses without any internal checks in terms of what, where, and when to deploy, he added, describing Moscow's preference for the widest possible optionality. The White House announced during a NATO summit last week that it would periodically station long-range weapons, including Tomahawk cruise missiles, in Germany starting in 2026 to act as a deterrent. Moscow criticized the move, accusing Washington of taking a step towards a new Cold War. The Kremlin warned over the weekend that the deployment of American missiles in Germany could make European capitals targets for Russian missiles. We did a whole video on that just the other day, and I showed you guys a clip from Russia's state news agency, their state-run news, and they put out like a video showing how easily Moscow could target inside of Europe, especially targeting the UK, saying that they would be definitely their number one targets with nuclear weapons. And they showed how easily they could just use a few tactical nuclear weapons and strike Europe and completely incapacitate Europe and make it difficult for them to even function as a society anymore. So responding to the Kremlin's warning, a U.S. State Department spokesperson said the United States and NATO do not seek a military conflict with Russia, but any military action directed against a NATO ally would trigger an overwhelming response. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius later said the planned U.S. weapons deployment was in itself a response to Russia's Iskander short-range ballistic missile station in the western Kaliningrad region, which is wedged between NATO members Poland and Lithuania and cut off from the rest of Russia. So that's what I just talked about. That, if they have these tactical nuclear weapons in Kaliningrad, this is obviously a major threat to NATO, considering that this piece of territory is literally wedged in between NATO nations, okay? And it's much closer to Europe than mainland Russia is. So Ryabkov said Moscow would take compensatory measures in a way we consider the most acceptable if German officials justify their escalation under the pretext that we have something in this region. Kaliningrad is no exception in terms of our absolute determination to do everything necessary to cast aside those who may be harboring aggressive intentions and who are trying to provoke us into certain steps that are undesirable for anyone and fraught with further complications, he warned. The arms deployment would mark a return of U.S. cruise missiles to Germany after a 20-year absence. The U.S. deployment of Pershing ballistic missiles in West Germany during the height of the Cold War in the 1980s prompted widespread demonstrations, with hundreds of thousands coming out to protest. Washington continued stationing missiles through the reunification of Germany and into the 1990s, but following the end of the Cold War, the United States significantly reduced the number of missiles stationed in Europe as a threat from Moscow receded. Now, NATO countries spearheaded by the United States have been bolstering their defenses in Europe following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So, I get that NATO feels like they need to bolster their defenses and get nuclear weapons or whatever they feel like they need to defend their nations. But at the end of the day, what this really is major escalation between Russia and NATO. And it's just getting very, very close. Okay, at any moment, we could really get into an all-out conflict between NATO and Russia and potentially a nuclear war. It's very possible, and I think we're closer now than maybe we ever have been before, and it's continuing to worsen, especially with this war in Ukraine, and we know this war in Ukraine is supposed to be winding down at some point. I know that Ukraine really wants to seek peace with Russia here very soon, and they may be forced into that in the next few months. But this war over here between NATO and Russia and Ukraine and Russia and just this whole mess is really going to change rapidly here in the next few months, and I think we're going to see some major things happening over here. Also, some major escalation as well. In terms of this war, I think Ukraine and Russia are going to battle it out to the very end, because we know that if Donald Trump ends up getting back in the White House pretty soon, this war could definitely come to an end in the next few months. So, I just wanted to cover this story and get this out there to you. I hope you did get something out of this. That's going to be it for today's update. If you did get something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.